All right, welcome to the show, everybody. Happy July. It is roughly 178 degrees outside, and I'm sweating my ball sack off. But I'm also in a phenomenal mood. Why is that, you ask? Because we just had the revolution continuing last night. We just had Colorado get hit with a wave of Democratic Socialist victories. The establishment Democrats are currently barbecued. They're in an all-out panic trying to stave off this left-wing Tea Party. And they're failing miserably. They are failing miserably. So you love to see it. We're going to talk about that in just a second. We also have Trump crashing out at the Supreme Court as the Supreme Court really delivers a final blow to the MAGA immigration agenda. The way they ruled on that birthright citizenship case is leading the right to just absolutely implode in on itself. You love to see it. So we'll talk about that as well. We also have leaked Trump financial disclosures, and it is flat out earth-shattering corruption, the likes of which we've never seen before. And then also, Iran is ghosting Trump. They're ghosting Trump as the White House is panicking. And you had the regime did a briefing to Congress about the war, and apparently it was a shit show. You had, Witkoff and Kushner berating Congress people for asking super legitimate questions. So crazy stuff, man. You guys know the drill. Everybody do me a big favor. Please subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon. That helps out big time and costs you nothing at all. You could also support the show on Patreon. Remember, y'all, just $1 a month or $2 a month. That goes a very, very long way because this is real independent media. I've never talked to an advertiser. I've never done an ad read. I'm very proud of that fact. You guys support the show from the ground up, and we have the default ads on YouTube, and that's how we fund the show. I'm very proud of that model we've set up, so thank you all for your support. It means the world, even if you just given $1. Again, that goes a very long way. And then also you could sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. That link is below. And go sub to Corin's World and come hang out with us live on Monday nights over there. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and jump right in. So, well, what do we have here, y'all? What do we have here? I'll tell you what we have here. We have an unstoppable wave. We have the future. We have a better politics staring us right in the face now. So yesterday in Colorado, we had elections, and almost across the board, save one race, we had the left-wing insurgent challenger, the anti-establishment left-winger, was able to dethrone the establishment corporate Democrat. All right, so look at this. Denver is done counting for tonight, and Malak Kiros, who's the challenger, the DSA candidate, is just shy of a 10% lead over Diana, I don't know if it's DeJet or DeJetti. About 28,000 ballots remain to be counted, with late ballots trending Kiros. She's headed for a double-digit victory in Colorado's 1st district. This race wasn't close. That's a huge deal, y'all. Now, let me just say, going into this thing, people weren't thinking this. They were thinking, maybe Malak Kiros will win, but if she wins, it'll probably be a relatively small win. Wrong. We're looking at double digits, y'all. Double-digit win. Let me give you some more. Look at this. Malak Kiros was fired for speaking out against the genocide in 2023. Daria Liza, who of course just won in New York the other week, was arrested for protesting genocide on Columbia's campus in 2024. Both are now headed to Congress in 2026. If pro-Israel repression was supposed to intimidate them, it failed. If anything, there was a backlash to the pro-Israel bullshit that's shoved down this country's throat. Okay, so here's another example of what just happened and what we're dealing with here. So Sunrise Movement posted this on March 19th. Ready? Representative DeJet gets heated with a constituent pressing her on why she voted to send bombs to Israel. Quote, "If this is the only issue that you care about, then you should not vote for me," she said. Update, she lost her primary to a 29-year-old Democratic Socialist. Again, you love to see it. So here's Kiros. Here's some of her victory statements here. Let's see what she had to say.
I'm Malak Kiros, and tonight, this victory belongs to every single one of you. Denver voters of all ages, of all races, of all religions sent a clear message. We will not wait. We will not wait to take the fight to
The phrase, let 1,000 Zorons bloom, is popping up in my brain right now. Let 1,000 Zorons bloom. By the way, this is the moment we've been waiting for. It's finally our time, y'all. It's finally our moment. You got to remember, I was a co-founder of Justice Democrats after Hillary Clinton lost. And what we were trying to do then was the left-wing version of the Tea Party. We were trying to overtake the corporate Democrats and the Democratic establishment because we were disgusted at how they could lose to Trump, right? The idea was let's get all of the Democrats in Congress to be like Bernie Sanders style Democrats. And, I've said this before, but I'll say it again now because it's super clear. We just were a little too early. We just were a little bit before our time, right? Like, this is the election cycle that we're really seeing through to fruition what we wanted all along. Because back then, the Democratic voters didn't fully distrust the Democratic establishment yet. Like, Nancy Pelosi was viewed in very high regard. All of these Democratic leaders were viewed as like, hey, look, they're the responsible ones. They have the experience. They're telling us follow them to defeat Trump. And then what happened is Trump ended up getting back in power. The right now controls every branch of government. And now Democratic voters are looking around and they're going, I don't trust Hakeem Jeffries. I don't trust Chuck Schumer. I don't trust any of these establishment Democrats. We need insurgent left-wing Democrats, outsiders, DSA types, Zoran types. And that's exactly what we're getting now. So again, we were just a little bit too early. We were a little bit before our time when we founded Justice Democrats, but now is the time of Justice Democrats, of DSA, of the left-wing Tea Party, effectively. All right, let me give you more. So here is More Perfect Union, did a piece on Malat, and you get a really good idea of who she is, why she's doing this, and what she cares about. Watch.
What we don't have are leaders who are unbought and unafraid to stand up to the billionaires and the corporations that are keeping our prices high, that are burning our planet, that are profiting from genocide. And that's what we deserve.
In the caucus process and on these doors, I have never felt this much anti-establishment energy from everyday people than I felt this cycle.
There's something happening across America, a political movement setting off earthquakes. It rocked New York last week, and now it's headed for the Rocky Mountains.
Everybody here voted already? Yeah!
In Denver, a 29-year-old lawyer, PhD student, and barista named Milat Kiros is running for Congress and primarying a longtime incumbent, Diana DeGette. And according to recent polls, she's surged into the lead ahead of the election on Tuesday.
I think the shift that we're seeing is one where the party is being forced to actually reckon with the desires of the voters.
A Democratic socialist, Kiros was fired from her law firm job for defending student protesters over Gaza. She is one of several progressive left candidates running against the establishment in Colorado, which has become one of the most expensive places to live in the country.
We have the support for Medicare for all, we have the support for universal child care, we have the support for abolishing ICE, but it's never going to happen when the people that are taking money from these corporations and these special interests are the ones that are still in Congress.
The year 1997 looms large in this race. It was the year that Diana DeGette entered Congress and the year that Kiros was born.
In 1997, I was less than a year old. I'm sure Diana DeGette was doing the same thing she has been doing for the last 30 years, not really passing bills.
She has not kept up enough. She simply can't meet the moment.
I've called her office too many times to count. Nobody's ever gotten back to me. And so to see that people selling things so they can pay for their health care costs, living in cars outside of their employer in the parking lot, that kind of stuff, that affects me.
I think like most other people my age, I've watched things steadily decline. It just feels good that someone's out here actually speaking truth to power.
Kiros won the vote at the Denver Democratic Assembly in April, but DeGette has benefited from millions in PAC spending from Big Pharma, AIPAC, defense contractors, and big tech. Kiros is instead relying on grassroots support to make up the difference.
And at the end of the day, this campaign only works because every single one of y'all knocking on doors, talking about the issues that you care about, but more importantly, talking about the world that you want to live in.
There are so many people in the city that realize that the world that we want to live in isn't impossible.
She's a student, she's a worker, she has firsthand experience of what it's like to exist in the American economy in the 21st century, and those are the people who should be representing us.
She did it. She defeated the big money machine that was backing her opponent. All right, but that's not the only victory. We also have this. Michael Bennet is the first sitting U.S. senator to lose a primary for governor in an open seat race in the post-World War II era. God diggity damn. So this guy, Michael Bennet, for those of you who don't remember, he ran for president. I forget which year it was that he ran for president, but he's like the frat bro who talks like this, man. He's got this weird way of talking. He got like negative 17 votes, but he was a sitting U.S. senator. He's a sitting U.S. senator. And so he decided, I'm going to run for governor in Colorado. Lost. Ended up losing. By the way, look at this. AIPAC Tracker has here. He took $357,000 from pro-Israel PACs. Again, he ended up losing. More. Phil Weiser, the one who beat him, was outspent and yet beat an incumbent U.S. Senator. Weiser explicitly ran as the anti-establishment candidate against billionaire money buying elections, and he published this op-ed backing legislation to limit Citizens United. This is the story of the primary. So the Denver Post here, they have the creative way Colorado can work around Citizens United to keep big money's corporate influence out of politics. And this was written by Weiser. And Weiser's now going to be the governor. It's incredible. It's incredible what we're witnessing here. Just across the board, seeing win after win after win. I keep thinking of that Trump quote. We're going to win so much, going to be like, please, no, stop winning. Stop winning. I can't take it anymore. And I'm going to say, no, we're going to keep winning. We're going to win so much, it's going to make your head spin. We're actually doing that, but DSA version. It's actually happening. This was the one loss, to be fair. There was one loss. It was John Hickenlooper, who, of course, is a human breakfast cereal, Hickenloopers. And he ran against Julie Gonzalez. And Julie Gonzalez, Crystal was telling me that Julie Gonzalez was DSA, but then her membership lapsed, and she didn't have like the same grassroots support from DSA as a lot of these other candidates did. And so that might explain, in part, why this happened. But Hickenlooper ended up hanging on and winning. He got 58% of the vote to 42% of the vote. But overall, look at this. Updated count from Taniel. Over the last 8 days, I'm counting 15 Democratic incumbents who have lost to, or for the Colorado races, now trailing a challenger to their left. 3 Congress members, 2 in New York, 1 in Colorado, 4 state senators, 2 in New York, 2 in Maryland, 8 state House members, 5 in New York, 1 in Maryland, 2 in Colorado. So that's colossal, man. That's colossal. Again, there's no other environment I could think of where it's been this consistent on our side. I can't think of one. Now, just to show you how locked in we are and how everybody now sees the way the winds are blowing in the party and in the country, right? Look at this. This is in Axios. Scoop. Kamala Harris privately called New York City's Mayor Zoran Mamdani last week and has been holding lengthy closed-door meetings with other prominent progressives, including pro-Palestinian activists. I told you after we had the massive string of victories in New York, I told you even the centrist candidates are going to have to pretend to love Zoran, are going to have to kiss his ass, are going to have to say positive things about him on the debate stage in 2028. That's the reality. That's the fact. You want to know why? Because it's true. He actually is a kingmaker. He actually is beloved. It's so rare somebody gets elected to any position and then their approval rating goes up. That's what happened to Zoran. It's so rare somebody gets elected and then they immediately deliver on like 5 of their core campaign promises. That's exactly what Zoran did. Okay? So now, even the centrist candidates, it's going to be amazing when we're watching Josh Shapiro with his shitty Barack Obama impersonation be on the debate stage and say I love Zoran. Zoran's a leader, and in many ways, he's the future. It's going to be crazy to see that. And now you're telling me it wasn't Kamala's people whispering to Axios, like, okay, we got to try to position ourselves better for 2028. Bro, I'm best friends with pro-Palestine activists, man. I'm having lengthy closed-door meetings with leftist leaders. I'm calling Zoran and chopping it up. Like, okay, come on, man. Come on, let's be serious. It's all tactical. It's all strategic because they see the way the winds are blowing. They see the Democratic Tea Party. I'm sorry, there is no lane anymore from some centrist, mealy-mouthed, neoliberal garbage. It's just not there. Okay, and then finally, let me show you this. So while the left is just getting win after win after win, and our moment is truly here, what's happening on the right? Ready for this? Colorado Republicans having an immensely normal one as usual. State Representative Scott Bottoms, hilarious name, and State Senator Barbara Kirkmeyer are running for the Republican nomination along with Victor Marks, a pastor and Marine veteran who claims that when he was a child, his stepfather forced him to kill a man. This is the guy that we covered. We did a segment on him because he's so insane. And there was even a point where the interviewer was like, okay, so have you ever killed anybody else after that? And he's like, no comment. And the guy's like, excuse me? He's like, no comment. Weird, creepy freak, okay? Bro, he's in second. He's beating Scott Bottoms. Again, hilarious name. I kind of can understand why. Scott Bottoms. Victor Marks, the self-admitted murderer, the stepdad-induced murderer, is 38% of the vote. He got 149,000 fucking votes. And that's with 70% of the votes in. That's crazy, dog. That is so wild. So as I've always told you, the Republican Party, it's not really a political party anymore. It's a death cult. It's a terrorist organization. It's disturbing. It's just a disturbing, off the spectrum gaggle of freaks and idiots and losers. And they cannot prove that anymore on a daily basis. But as they're getting worse, we're getting better. And like I said, it's a glorious thing to witness. So now you get the cope from the establishment Democrats. Oh, now we're worried about losing in 2028. No, you're not. You're worried about us winning. That's what you're worried about. Because you can't stem the tide of these anti-establishment Democrats who are actually going to stand up to the billionaires, who are going to stand up to the military-industrial complex, stand up to the corporate donors, and you don't want to actually represent the people. So they're going to pretend like they're afraid of losing in the midterms. You're not afraid of losing. You're afraid that they're going to win. That's what it is. So you simply love to see it, and great stuff. Also, man, shout out to Hassan. He's been on the ground for a lot of these candidates, and he's been, overtly supporting a lot of these candidates. And a lot of his candidates are winning. You got to call it what it is. Like I said, now is the DSA moment. Now is the left-wing Tea Party that we've always wanted. And this is a direct result of MAGA being the most insane movement this country has ever seen and destroying this country day after day, and the corporate Democrats, the diet MAGA Democrats, being completely and utterly incapable of reining him in any serious way, shape, or form. And, you mix that with the endless support for genocide in Gaza, and we're finally here. We're finally getting people with a conscience who are running in elections and winning.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, y'all. So Trump and Republicans are in all-out meltdown mode at the moment because the Supreme Court ruled against them on pretty much their main issue, I would say, immigration. They ruled on birthright citizenship, and these guys are pissed off. Now, I will say, though, it's a little silly because, yet again, we have multiple decisions that cut their way, which are horrific decisions, but they ignore those. They expect to go like literally 100% on their side, and they didn't. So first, let me walk you through some of these decisions here. So take a look at this one. A SCOTUS Wire says the Supreme Court upheld West Virginia and Idaho laws limiting girls' and women's school sports teams to biological females, holding that Title IX permits sex-separated teams based on biological sex, and that the laws do not violate the Equal Protection Clause. So this is just a classic example of like the court putting up a massive middle finger to trans people and saying, fuck you, you're not part of society, you don't count, you can't partake in the school activities and sports that everybody else can participate in. And so this is just a massive middle finger to trans people across this country, and it allows red states to basically kick trans people out of sports completely, right? And so what you're going to have is literally every red state now is going to pass a law saying, fuck you, you're kicked out. All right, we also have this one. The Supreme Court just struck down restrictions on political parties' coordinated campaign spending, saying that they violate the First Amendment. The 6-3 decision means political parties will be able to coordinate with candidates and raise unlimited amounts of money. So, corruption is already legal in this country. Bribery is already legal in this country. There's been a number of Supreme Court decisions that found that money equals speech, so billionaires could buy elections and corporations can buy elections through different avenues. There's PACs, there's super PACs, there's political campaigns, there's all sorts of stuff, right? And this is shooting a dead horse because it started in the 1970s with Buckley versus Vallejo. Then we had Bellotti, which is another Supreme Court decision that said money is speech. Then we had Citizens United, which also shot a dead horse. But now, basically what we're going to get is there is no buffer, there is no firewall between the political parties and the candidates and the campaigns anymore. So you're going to get a lot more politicians who are just complete and utter party hacks as a result of this. It's unlimited bribery, unlimited corruption, coordination between billionaires, corporations, political parties, and candidates, and total hacks who are just down the line going to vote with the party, and there's not going to be anybody who breaks anymore with the party line. That's the type of candidates that you're incentivizing with this sort of a decision. So absolutely atrocious. And the logic that they used was just abysmal, okay? Matt Stoller says, the 6 Republicans on the Supreme Court say there's just no evidence of political corruption anywhere, so campaign finance limits make no sense. And that's what they describe. They say, look, there's no quid pro quo corruption. And since there's no quid pro quo corruption, or even the appearance of quid pro quo corruption, therefore, these rules are unnecessary. That's their argument. That's basically what they said, which is absolutely out of this world insane. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. They're either the dumbest people on the planet, or they're lying on purpose because they're bought by the same corporations. They're bought by the same big money interests, right? And we know there's a lot of ethics problems with this court. Now, aren't there? Okay, so David Schroeder also weighs in on this. The Supreme Court just helped J.D. Vance create Citizens United 2.0. The Supreme Court just helped J.D. Vance expand Citizens United amid a flood of billionaire cash. Justices insist the strength of the existing anti-corruption laws justifies giving mega donors another conduit of influence. Now let's get to the big one. Let's get to the big boy. Let's get to the elephant in the room, which is on immigration, on birthright citizenship. So, before I get to what the Supreme Court said, let's take a look at Section 1 of the 14th Amendment, okay? It says the following. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Let me repeat that. All persons born or naturalized in the U.S. are citizens of the United States. Not really much gray area. Pretty fucking black and white. Pretty black and white. So what happened? The Supreme Court ruled that the 14th Amendment guarantees birthright citizenship to children born in the United States, including those whose parents are in the country unlawfully or only temporarily, striking down President Trump's executive order. So Trump tried to override the Constitution with a fucking executive order, bro. I mean, that's ludicrous, but that's what he tried to do. An executive order to override the Constitution. Now, it's a little complicated the way the ruling works. It was like 5-4 on one issue, but 6-3 on another issue. I think what happened there was one of them said, it is, if you're just visiting this country and you have a baby, you shouldn't be considered a citizen. But if you're an undocumented person who's here and you've been here for a while and you have a baby, then that baby is considered a citizen. I forget which justice made that argument, but they tried to kind of split the difference and say, it's not like literally anybody who's born here, but if you've been here for a while and you're born here, then yes, then that kid is a citizen. But if you're just like visiting for a couple days and you happen to have the baby while you're here, that doesn't count. One of the justices tried to argue that, but the winning argument ended up being the literal interpretation of the Constitution here, which is, no, if you're born here, then you're a citizen, period. End of story, end of discussion. The Constitution cannot be more clear in its language. But you had 3 justices, 3, the dumbest 3, the most conservative 3, who were like, actually, I think that's bullshit. And the argument they make is, no, when that was written, that was only meant to protect the kids of slaves, to give them full citizenship. That's what they were arguing. But guess what? That's not true. We actually know, we can see what they said at the time. And what they said at the time was, no, this is for everybody born in this country. It is for immigrants. It's not just for slaves. So effectively, it's just made up when Clarence Thomas says, oh no, this was just for slaves. And also, by the way, as Ketanji Brown Jackson pointed out, why is it Justice Clarence Thomas on every other issue involving race with the federal government? He says, we need a colorblind society. We can't look at race. Race has no bearing on this whatsoever. We can't have race involved in the law in any way, shape, or form. So he always says that, but on this one particular issue, he goes, no, this is only for black people. This is only for the children of slaves. It's just fucking utterly made up. It's a bullshit way to try to say fuck you to the immigrant community, to try to say fuck you to people who were born here who are not white. Let's call it what it is, okay? So Trump comes out and proves he doesn't even understand what the decision means, and he advocates this. He says, the Supreme Court upheld birthright citizenship, which is too bad for our country, but we can easily make it up in Congress through legislation with the support of the president that has now been determined during this process. No long and unwieldy constitutional amendment is necessary. Congress should start today to work on ending expensive and unfair to our country birthright citizenship. They will have my complete and total endorsement. You fucking jackass. That is not what this means. If the Supreme Court rules that it is constitutional, birthright citizenship is in the Constitution, you would need a constitutional amendment to change that. That's not as simple as legislation. That's not as simple as just passing a law. You don't have anywhere near the numbers you need for a constitutional amendment. So he just lies. But guys, this is what we deal with Republicans. The number of times we win battles and the battle's over, and then they just like reignite the same battles and use the same bullshit legal arguments. I can't even fucking keep up with it. It's like we have to fight the oldest battles. We need to go back to the drawing board on the most basic shit to try to justify the most basic shit because of these fucking assholes. You know, they do the same shit with like trying to eliminate Social Security and Medicare and stuff. And it's like, for the love of God, can you stop trying to destroy everything that's good about this country? Trump also came out and crashed out and said the following. I would like to congratulate President Xi and the great country of China on their massive birthright citizenship win. All right, you fucking douchebag. First of all, nobody wants to come in this country anymore, son. I hate this self-suck-off thing, like, we're still the center of the world, we're still the center of the universe, everybody loves us, everybody wants to be us, everybody still wants to be here. Bro, now people look at us with disdain and disgust. By the way, we're now in a position where more people are leaving the country than coming in. Why? Because MAGA has destroyed this country. They've ruined everything. And here he acts like, well, obviously they all want to come here. Do they? Do they? I don't know. I've seen pictures and videos of China lately, and their mid-tier cities are looking more impressive than our top-tier cities, if I'm being real with you. So I hate this fucking, congratulations, President Xi. This fucking petty little catty-ass bitch. Jesus Christ. Trump was also raging after the Supreme Court said, we're not going to hear the E. Jean Carroll case. In other words, Trump is mandated to pay E. Jean Carroll that $5 million that he was trying to get out of paying. And so Trump crashed out and said this. Surprisingly, the Supreme Court declined to review a fake case brought against me by a woman I never met. Decades-old celebrity photo line standing with her husband does not count. I will continue the fight against this weaponization and lawfare case against me. How? It's over. It's done. Including the ridiculous claim of defamation with all of my power and strength. This case is really against the United States of America and all it stands for and should never be allowed to happen to another president or candidate to be. That's so insane. No, this has this is really a case against the United States of America. Because you raped a woman in a fucking department store in like the 1980s? Shut the fuck up. Oh my God. New York State created a law for an instant speck of time going back many decades in order to wrongfully nab me. It was tailor-made, and this injustice cannot be allowed to stand. Thank you for your attention to this matter. In other words, like, what about the statute of limitations? It was so long ago, it shouldn't matter that I tried to finger bang this random woman in a department store when she didn't want it. Fuck you. God, I hate him so much, man. What a loathsome scumbag. This is what he's thinking about. This is what he's posting about at the same time that the country's falling apart at the seams, inflation's out of control, unemployment's out of control, gas prices are high, and they're only going to go one direction, up even more. And this is what this idiot is doing. He's got a hot war going on, and he's trying to defend that he was forcibly finger-banging a woman in a department store in the fucking 1980s. Jesus Christ. Now, this is kind of a big deal. I don't know if you guys saw this, but take a look. NPR posted, Justice Samuel Alito, who wrote the opinion overturning Roe v. Wade, retires. Well, editor's note, NPR retracts the story. So my guess is all the insiders were given information that he's going to retire on Friday, but don't run it until Friday. And this one accidentally posted it too soon. And now the cat's out of the bag. But to show you how controlled our media is, like virtually nobody else is talking about it. This person was like, I apologize, it was a mistake, this and that. It's like, I don't know, man. He's probably going to fucking retire, isn't he? Which is, by the way, we have to address the court. Because Trump is going to pick somebody who's like 40 years old, who's going to be on the court for a quadrillion years, who's going to continue to fuck us in the ass with a spiky metal bat. We can't have it. We need to have a code of ethics. We need to impeach the conservative justices who violate it with how corrupt they are. And we also need to expand the court. Expand the fucking court. Enough. I'm done. I'm done with this shit. Now, by the way, you had conservative commentators absolutely crashing out and shitting themselves over the most predictable decision of all time, maybe, with the birthright citizenship ruling. Yeah, I mean, I said beforehand, you guys heard me say beforehand that, like, I can't imagine this decision would cut differently because the language is too clear. Like, it would just be such an affront to the idea of literalism, which is what they claim to believe in, textualism, literalism, like, hey, whatever the words on the page are, that's what you got to go with. And so we ended up winning the case, but look at the crash out from the right. Ben Shapiro says, the Supreme Court's ruling on birthright citizenship is a legal abomination. But it's just more evidence that Congress and multiple presidents, in abdicating their duty on immigration for decades, have screwed America irredeemably. Immediately, people started posting, I'm sorry the Constitution is happening to you, which is a Ben Shapiro post from 2022. Okay, you love to see it. It's true. I mean, it's right there in the Constitution, and now he's like, well, I don't like that one. He'll suck off the Constitution with every other thing he says, but on this one where the Constitution cuts in a more left direction, he's like, what is an abomination? Well, what happened? I thought you were a literalist and a textualist, and you wanted to go by the words on the page. Apparently not. This guy, Sean Davis, this fucking idiot, co-founder of the Federalist right-wing outlet, He says, several ways forward here given the choice of Roberts and Barrett to nullify the 14th Amendment and extra constitutionally replace it with their own language. Number one, nullification. States issue birth certificates and they can just stop issuing them to non-citizens. Roberts and Barrett can deal with the fallout and litigate each birth individually. Number two, pack the court. He's acting like he's not conservative enough. We need more conservative justices. If Roberts wants to be a politician who writes laws instead of a judge, then he can fight with 10 more unelected legislators in robes. Number three, deny entry to all pregnant foreigners. Oh my word. Number four, deny entry to all female foreigners. Number five, require sterilization of all foreign visitors prior to entry. This country has lost its mind. Conservatives have lost their minds, just casually floating Hitler-like eugenics policies. Number six, dissolution of the Union. A nation which can't even restrict who gets to be a citizen isn't a nation. Number seven, amend the Constitution. This is pointless because once a judge decides he can rewrite the Constitution at will, the actual text is meaningless. But this is what most GOP politicians gravitate towards because they are useless. If you think all these options are not great, understand that this is what happens when unelected judges decide that they are in charge of the country and get to write its laws. It's such an insane freakout since I just read you the text of the Constitution. This amendment is super clear. Like, birthright citizenship is there and has always been there. They could cope, they could see over that, but it's just a fact. And they act like these guys made it up, like it's not in there or something. Fucking unbelievable. Unbelievable. So everybody's making fun of this guy. This is my favorite one here. Look at this idiot. By the way, look at his face. Come on, man. This guy is going to talk about, like, we need to forcibly sterilize people coming in this country. Bro, you should be forcibly sterilized. Look at those weak-ass genes. I'm not a believer in eugenics and phrenology. But if I was, you would not be the Ubermensch, motherfucker, with your weak-ass chin. Anyway, in 2021, he typed in Mommy Milky, apparently thinking he was typing into Google or Pornhub or whatever to jack off to beat his little meat. And then he crashed out and deleted the tweet when it came out. So you love it. You love to see it. You love to see idiots like this lose their fucking mind. Yeah, this guy lecturing us about we can't allow in people who are impure. Seriously, you're gonna say that? What a fucking sick joke. Oh my days. But that's not it. We still have more because we also have this. Matt Walsh says the idea that a pregnant woman from Guatemala can sprint across the U.S. border, have the baby 30 minutes after arriving here, and the baby is magically a citizen of the U.S. is one of the most retarded and indefensible notions ever conceived. It's literally in the Constitution. Mehdi Hassan says, Matt Walsh should be deported. He thinks the U.S. Constitution is retarded. He hates America. He should be deported. This guy says, also, Guatemala is over 1,000 miles away from the U.S. border. That's a hell of a sprint for a pregnant lady to make. Mehdi says he doesn't do geography. Damn right he doesn't do geography. What the fuck is wrong with these people? For real, man. What is wrong with these people? Steven Crowder comes out and says, there you have it. Amy Coney Barrett and John Roberts just decided that little Joshua, I think I'm supposed to say Jose, but I don't know. Josue, born to illegal Haitians in Springfield, Ohio, is just as American as you and me because of the 14th Amendment or something. Yes! Because of the 14th Amendment! Period. Full stop. Actually, read the fucking thing instead of crashing out. Here's my favorite reaction to it, though. Here you have Mehdi Hassan. He says, Steven Crowder is the son of a French-Canadian mother and grew up in Canada. And he's lecturing us about, like, let me tell you what's more American and what's less American. Bitch, you're Canadian. Say about, motherfucker. Let me hear you say the word about. We'll see how American you are, bitch. Oh, my days. Come on, man. This is ridiculous. But anyway, classic right-wing bullshit. You know, they won most of their cases. The nation has been further degraded and destroyed by their nonsense. And they still cannot help themselves but whine and cry and bitch and moan when a tiny percentage of the time it doesn't go their way. And the reason it doesn't go their way is because the Constitution is too fucking clear. It would have been the hackiest shit of all time for the Supreme Court to say, oh yeah, we're ending birthright citizenship. By the way, I was surprised to learn that any country didn't have birthright citizenship. A lot of them do, but I was surprised. Trump lies about this. There's none of them have it but us. That's not true. But when I heard that there were some countries that didn't have it, I was like, what? So you could be born somewhere and you're not a citizen of that place? Like, how the fuck does that work? That's weird, right? And these guys fundamentally want to get rid of what I view as the most fundamentally American idea, right? They want to get rid of the most fundamentally American idea. Classic. They're massive pieces of shit. Continue to crash out. Cope, seethe, whine, bitch, moan. You're wrong. And if we had the country that they wanted oh my God, we would be so much worse off.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
I have to say, man, I definitely feel like a broken record when I talk about Trump's corruption, but to be fair, everybody in media should talk about Trump's corruption non-stop because it is absolutely earth-shattering and record-breaking and mind-boggling and insane what this man gets away with. It's out of this world. So take a look at this. This is wild. Midas Touch says the following. Trump's financial disclosures just dropped, and it's worse than you thought. The U.S. Office of Government Ethics released Donald Trump's 927-page financial disclosure today. Here's what a sitting U.S. president made in 2025. Now, let me just pause real quick to say this. If you're a sitting president, the fact that your financial disclosure is 927 pages long, that's already a problem, bro. That's already a problem. That bitch needs to be like 3 pages max. 927-page long financial disclosure, you got too much shit going on. It should absolutely positively be illegal, all of this shit that he's doing. And by the way, a lot of it is. A lot of it violates the Emoluments Clause of the Constitution, for example. You got the insider trading, which is just out of this fucking world. Obviously, politicians should just be banned from investing in the market anyway, right? But 927 pages. That's already a problem. On that alone, strike 1, you're out. Just guilty. There's no strike 2 or 3 here, okay? $635 million Trump made from the Trump meme coin while retail investors watched it crash from $74 to $1.68. He made $594 million from World Liberty Financial Token and stablecoin sales. That's a crypto venture co-founded with his own sons. He made $65 million from selling equity in that same company. He made $80+ million in media settlements from ABC, CBS, Meta, and YouTube paid to his own presidential library. Again, let me pause to point out, $80 million in settlements with ABC, CBS, and Meta. Shame on ABC, shame on CBS, shame on Meta. All of these companies, shame on YouTube. YouTube's on this list too. I didn't even know about the YouTube thing. Did you guys know about the YouTube thing? I hadn't heard about that shit until right the fuck now. This is the classic Trump move. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you for like $10 billion. That's what I'm going to take all your money. That's what I'm going to take all your money. And then these organizations go, oh no, don't sue us. Here's an idea. Here's what we'll do instead. How about I give you $15 million and settle? And this is his plan. He's like, I know they don't want to go to court. They don't want to pay the fees when you go to court. They don't want to deal with the headache of this. They don't want to be on the bad side of the president because I can get back at them in many ways, whether it be, cutting off their subsidies or their contracts or whatever the fuck. So they know, all right, shit, he's got our nuts in a vice grip. I guess we got to sort of give in here, but fuck them. There's some things you have to stand on principle, and they didn't stand on principle. And he made $80 million from harassing media outlets and destroying the First Amendment. That's what this is. It's Trump saying, fuck the First Amendment, don't care about the First Amendment, don't care about freedom, don't care about, the press being able to say whatever they want or do their job. I'm coming to destroy the First Amendment. And they went, sir, yes, sir. Okay, sir, I'd love to destroy the First Amendment with you. Here's some money. Here's some money because we said mean things about you that were accurate. Fuck these people, man. Total crypto haul. Trump made over $1.4 billion in 1 year while serving as president of the United States. His net worth has nearly tripled from $2.4 billion to $6.3 billion since taking office. That is unconscionable. And while Trump pocketed $1.4 billion from crypto, the everyday Americans who bought his meme coin, they lost 764,000 wallets, ended up in the red. This is the most corrupt presidency in American history, period. Now, by the way, I'm about to show you a chart right now. When they say, oh, the people who bought into Trump's scam shitcoin lost, that is a fucking understatement. I want you to take a look at this. Look at this. This is the chart. Trump crypto family gains versus investor losses. Isn't that interesting? So the Trump organization profits virtually the exact same amount as the investors lost. This should have been the biggest scandal in American history at the time. That a president who was about to be inaugurated in 2 days launched a scam crypto coin, a meme coin, and then profited colossally off of it, and everybody else lost a shitload of money. It wasn't just him. It was also Melania. They're such criminals, and they're so greedy that they decided, let's rob our own people twice in 2 different ways, with the Melania shitcoin and the Trump shitcoin. He should have been never even allowed to be inaugurated at that point. They should have dragged his ass to prison in handcuffs and kept him there permanently when he did this shit. By the way, MAGA, how does it feel? I'm sure there were some people who put fucking tens of thousands of dollars on this coin and lost it all. By the way, don't take my word for any of this shit. You go back and look at the shit Trump used to say about crypto before he realized he could get in on the scam. He used to say, I don't like crypto. I like the dollar. I like the dollar. The dollar's real. This is fake. And now, since he's profiting off, he's going to pretend like, crypto's awesome. Crypto's real. The idea that it's even a currency, cryptocurrency, it's not really a currency. It's speculative. And it's literally used for rug pulls and scams 24/7 now. The president is fucking rug pulling his own supporters. See, this is why everybody in MAGA needs to wake up and realize that, like, you're not special. He's not with you. He's not representing you. You're a mark. That's what you are. And this is a guy who, he has a track record of even literally a day before one of his companies goes bankrupt, he would be out there saying, everything's looking great. Our books are awesome. The future's bright. Everything's going to be incredible. It's going to be amazing. And then the very next day, one of his companies went bankrupt. Now this guy's doing this with the country. As he's robbing you and scamming you, he's doing that with the country, right? Gas prices, come down, gas prices. I'm going to tell the oil executives, you better bring that gas price down. But everything's looking good in this country. Everything's looking tremendous. Meanwhile, we're at the bottom of the strategic reserves. Gas is about to skyrocket again. We're about to have shortages, about to have to ration. They don't know what the fuck's going on, bro. It's insane. This is just absolutely insane. This chart is mind-boggling. This chart, when you have the Trump criminal cases, we shouldn't even have to say anything. The prosecutors could just shut their fucking mouths and hold up this chart. That's it. Don't even say anything. Here, look at this. See this? That's what this guy's doing. Don't say shit. Jury will be like, guilty. Lock him up. Lock him up. Throw away the key. All right, how about this one? Washington Post. White House officials secretly awarded a no-bid contract worth up to $500 million for the construction of the East Wing Ballroom in an unusual arrangement that sidestepped typical contracting procedures designed to control costs, according to a copy of the agreement. So in other words, he's doing the same fucking shit that he did with the reflecting pool. He's doing the same shit that he did with another fountain in Washington, D.C. Let me do a no-bid contract to one of my cronies, another mob asshole, and this person will make it. So he does a shitty job. He keeps a bunch of the proceeds, but he'll let me take a cut as well. Daddy always gets a kickback, right? That's the way Trump runs this country. It's a mobocracy now. And so that's what's going on here, for sure. There's no other reason you would do like no bid contracts like this and go around the typical way of doing it, unless you're trying to rob taxpayers. You're trying to spend too much on it. You're trying to let them take a cut as we also take a cut. That's what's happening here. That's what this is. And by the way, how many times did he say, it's like $250 million is what it's going to cost? Really? Now we're double that. Now we're at $500 million. How many times did he say, it's not going to come from taxpayers at all. It's going to be privately funded. Looks like that's not happening either. Every single thing he says and does is a lie. It's all bullshit. He was literally on tape, like, immediately before he destroyed the East Wing of the White House and bulldozed it. He was on tape going, I love that. I love that place. It's my favorite part of the White House. I would never desecrate it like that. But I mean, it is just, the man is pathological. He truly is pathological. How about this one? The Atlantic says, the White House considers granting 250 pardons for the nation's birthday. The idea has set off a frenzy of appeals for clemency. Jesus Christ. So Trump is now using America's birthday to try to, like, take one of his criminal ideas and mask it by pretending it's like a celebration, by pretending it's like a good thing, right? That's what this is. It's like mask the criminal, hide in plain sight, mask the criminality by like celebrating it, right? Like, for our amazing nation's birthday, gonna pardon 250 people. Well, guess what? As Melanie D'Arrigo says, Trump has been allegedly selling pardons for up to $6 million each. Now he may sell another 250 and pretend his open call for bribes and corruption is a celebration of our nation. Most corrupt president ever, and it's not even close. Look at this from an article in The Atlantic. Quote, "It is general knowledge in our practice that for $2 million, you can have a pardon. A prominent defense attorney told me. Others said $1 to $2 million is the going rate, though clients were offering many times that amount for challenging cases." So this is why, bro, I've been telling you, this is why you look at the list of people he's pardoned. It is astonishing that any president would put their name on that, because a lot of these people, not only are they con men, not only are they frauds, they're some of the worst fraudsters in this nation. We're talking about tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions in fraud. We're talking about ridiculous numbers. There's somebody that he pardoned who was a fraudster, pardoned him, he gets out, he commits fraud again, gets locked up again. Trump pardons him again. You can't make this up. Like, you actually can't make this up. And then meanwhile, they have the nerve to turn around and go, the Somalians in Minnesota, they're all committing fraud. They're all disgusting, disgusting people. You could tally up all the fraud committed by Somalis in Minnesota. It wouldn't equal half of the people that Trump fucking pardoned himself, knowing they committed fraud. So you look at that and you go, why is he doing it? Well, he's doing it not because he actually thinks, oh, this person's innocent or whatever. No, he's getting paid. We've had direct reporting of, like, there was a mother of somebody who was in prison, for example, who went down to Mar-a-Lago, paid Trump $1 million. The guy was pardoned like a couple weeks later. Like, I mean, he's gotten away with everything. So he feels like nobody can stop me. What are they going to say? What are they going to do? At the end of the day, I'm not in prison. At the end of the day, you can't stop me. He realized I can get away with whatever the fuck I want, so he's getting away with whatever the fuck he wants to get away with. So I've said it a million times, I'll say it a million more. I hope there's prosecutors out there, there's lawyers out there who are following this stuff with a fine-tooth comb, going through it with a fine-tooth comb, following it closely, and you have the list of all the crimes. Because if this man survives and he's out of office, I mean, you got to throw the fucking book at him. You have to make an example of him. I mean, we don't have a country anymore if this is how a president gets to act. It's that simple. This is beyond, somebody said on social media the other day, we're the first fifth world nation. This Banana Republic is an understatement. We are the first fifth world nation in the world looking at this shit, looking at how they are looting and plundering and pillaging and just robbing us blind, stripping this country down to the studs, just running out the back door with all the shit and letting us hold the bag. It's just insane. It is insane what we're witnessing here. So that disclosure, in a sane world, that disclosure would lead to immediate impeachment. It would lead to immediate impeachment or immediate 25th Amendment removal. You have a man who's sundowning with Alzheimer's, whose brain isn't working anymore, and he's physically rotting away in front of us. And in the midst of doing all of that, he's starting a new war every other week, and he's robbing the country blind in like 17 different ways, as detailed in the leaked financial disclosure, which should be an eye-opener for everybody who gives a single solitary shit about fixing this country.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, y'all. So Trump was pretending after bombing the shit out of Iran yet again that actually they want a meeting. We're going to have a meeting. They asked for a meeting, so I'm going to give them a meeting. Here's the thing, though. That was a lie, point number one. Point number two, they ghosted him at this so-called meeting. Okay, so this was an absolute mess. Not only that, you had a meeting with the Trump regime, people like Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. They met with people in Congress to give them a briefing on the war, and the Congress people started asking legitimate questions about, like, hey, why are you guys profiting off of this? Who even gave you the ability to negotiate on behalf of the U.S.? You're not in any official position in the cabinet. You haven't been approved in any way, shape, or form. And apparently, they crashed out and started yelling at the Congress people and berating them. So shout out to Midas Touch here. Ben is going to break it down for us. The title is All Hell Breaks Loose as Iran Briefing Goes Sideways.
All hell just broke loose as the Trump regime purported to give its first congressional briefing regarding the Memorandum of Understanding. I say purported because it was a conference call with Marco Rubio, Steve Witkoff, and Jared Kushner with members of Congress in the House and in the United States Senate. All hell broke loose because when members of Congress asked some very basic questions about the Memorandum of Understanding, like who drafted it, who came up with the terms, hey, Steve Witkoff, are you still doing business in the Middle East? What is your actual role, Witkoff? Is this a real MOU? Is this binding? What happens next? Apparently, Rubio and Witkoff and others from the Trump regime just started yelling and screaming at members of Congress, including some MAGA Republican Congress members who were on the call. You had Democratic Congresswoman Dean asking some very basic questions, and Witkoff started screaming at her and saying, "That's a dumbass question. Do not ask me about any of my business dealings in the Middle East, and stop asking me who wrote this MOU. You're going to just sit there and you're going to listen to my briefing." And notably, this was a conference call. These Trump regime individuals didn't even have the decency to do it in person and actually be cross-examined and get asked tough questions. Let me just show you, as Democratic Congresswoman Dean recounts being yelled at by Witkoff and Rubio, and they basically muted her from the line and wouldn't let her ask any questions. What the hell kind of briefing was this supposed to be? What was this? I mean, seriously. Here, play this clip.
He cut my mic off and said that he called my question smart-assed and stupid, cut my mic off and said, "There's your answer."
Then Mikkel Schnell over at MS Now recounts what went down when you had MAGA Republican Congress member Rich McCormick asking Rubio some very basic questions. And McCormick says, "I don't really understand the MOU. Is this a binding document? How would you really describe this, Rubio? Because you've been out there saying it's really just a negotiating framework and don't worry about the actual terms. So what is it, Rubio?" To which Rubio said, quote, "No one is here under any illusion that this is easy or even likely in some cases. This is not likely. There's a reason why this has been going on for 47 years, but we're going to give it an opportunity." This comes at the same time that we've heard from Israeli intelligence, from the Netanyahu regime, and they've been talking to I-24 News and others, saying really what this is all about is Donald Trump's trying to keep power in the House and the Senate, and as soon as the elections are over, there's going to be a massive war with Iran, the third round. We've heard from Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, and he gave a speech today saying, "We are preparing for war. This is not a real MOU, and we're working with Rubio, and we've got our people in the Trump regime," not J.D. Vance. By the way, hasn't J.D. Vance got awfully silent? "We're ready to go back into war. We're not leaving Syria. We're not leaving Lebanon. We're not leaving Gaza. There will never be a two-state solution, and while Netanyahu is in power," that's what they are saying.
By the way, J.D. Vance all but admitted this. I think he was on Michael Knowles' show, and he basically said, like, yeah, we're using this to, like, reload and refresh and get ready for the next round, effectively. Also, this is consistent with all of the military activity that we're seeing in the Middle East around Iran, that they're using this as almost like a head fake. It's like a psyop. Like, oh yeah, maybe we'll have peace or whatever, but really they're just building up for the next round, which is devastating and catastrophic because nothing's going to work. A ground invasion is not going to fucking work. Taking Karg Island is not going to fucking work. You can't forcibly open the Strait of Hormuz. They have us fucking checkmated on that. So all you're doing is guaranteeing a global economic crash and that we run out of our oil and gas. That's all you're doing. You're guaranteeing higher prices. And like, you get the sense that they all know what's going on here and they have a guilty conscience about it. Like Steve Witkoff crashing out at congresspeople for questioning him, asking him legitimate questions, is Steve Witkoff's guilty conscience, knowing it's a legitimate question, knowing he's personally profiting off of all of this shit. He's in no position to negotiate on behalf of this country. Neither is Jared Kushner. But oh, would you look at that? Jared Kushner got $2 billion from Saudi Arabia, got a tremendous amount of money from others involved as well. And Steve Witkoff also is profiteering off of this stuff as they're preparing for the next round of this illegal war to continue.
Show you the receipts just so you can see how the American people are being lied to as the Trump regime continues to manipulate the markets. And it should be noted that the Trump regime sent Witkoff and Kushner to show up in Doha in Qatar to meet with the Qatari mediators. And you know who's not going to be there? Iran. Iran's made it very clear as of last week. They reinforced it yesterday. Why would we go? Why would we have these discussions? You continue to say you're going to invade us. You continue to violate the MOU. You struck the Strait of Hormuz. You struck Sirik and Keshem on Friday and Saturday, and then you manipulated the market and say we're having talks. We're not having talks with you.
And Israel is still in Lebanon. They're still being defiant. They're ramping up in many respects and using like banned mega bombs at the same time. I think Iran knows, because they're used to dealing with Israel, they're used to dealing with the U.S. Iran knows this is all bullshit. They don't mean a fucking word of any of this. There's no deal. There's no, it's already fallen apart. There is no ceasefire if you're no longer ceasing to fire, right? So they're aware of all of that. And so what do you do in that scenario? Don't fall for it anymore. That's the bottom line. I mean, Qasem Soleimani fell for it when Trump said, meet with us for negotiations, and then he murdered him. At the same time, the Israelis did the same shit. Oh, there's some Hamas negotiators in Qatar, I believe it was, and they just bombed where they were and murdered them. This is what we do. If Trump could rip up the JCPOA, then he could rip up any agreement. Trump ripped up his own economic agreement that he made with Canada. You can't trust these people at all. Iran knows that, and that's why they're ghosting the U.S., because they know this is all bullshit.
Donald Trump posted, Iran has requested a meeting. Iran's like, no, we didn't. We're not showing up. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson, we're not having a meeting. You're just lying about what happens next. And so that's the reality of what's taken place. Let me share with you what Congresswoman Kamliger Dove told the Midas Touch Network about this so-called briefing as well. And she goes, what Rubio was forced to admit to us while we were they were yelling at us, we were saying, what the hell is this? And Rubio was like, yeah, the difference between Obama's JCPOA and this MOU is that the JCPOA was an actual deal. And Rubio was saying that to criticize the JCPOA. He's like, the problem with it was a real deal, it was binding, but we pulled ourselves out of this. The great news about this MOU is that we're not even really going to acknowledge the terms, and we're just going to pretend it's a thing. And Iran realizes that. Take a listen to what Congresswoman Kamliger Dove told the Midas Touch Network. Here, play this clip.
So, real quick, tell us about this briefing call today with the intel community.
Oh, this call with Secretary Marco Rubio about this Iran deal.
Right.
Yes, it was enlightening. As I shared, the last time I did one of these briefings, we had members on there talking about aliens in the sky. So I have a very low bar for the kinds of information that's going to come out of this. But I have to say, the highlight or low light for me was when Secretary Rubio was asked about the difference between this MOU and JCPOA. And Marco Rubio essentially said the JCPOA, the nuclear deal, Obama's nuclear deal, was a real agreement with criteria and benchmarks and thresholds. And this MOU is just a signed piece of paper saying we're going to continue to talk about talking.
The reason why Rubio would admit that is because Rubio wants to get back to the war. He's a warmonger. He's a neocon. He doesn't want to stop until the IRGC is overthrown completely, until Iran is a failed state. That's why he admits it. He admits it because that's what he actually wants to happen, whereas the others want to continue to pretend like, no, this is totally, this is peace for sure, absolutely. We actually give a shit about peace. This isn't a massive ruse. So one admission, holy shit.
So you should ask yourself, $100 and something billion later, what are these people doing with our money and our national security?
Got it. Thank you so much, Congresswoman.
And then let me just show you a longer clip right here of what Congresswoman Dean said went down on that call with Rubio and Witkoff when she was asking some very basic questions about who drafted it. Witkoff, what's your business interest? Jared Kushner, you still raising another $4 to $5 billion in the Middle East while you're doing these negotiations? Under what authority do you think you have the ability to negotiate on behalf of the United States when nobody has appointed you at all? And then apparently Witkoff and others said, don't you dare challenge us. Excuse me. Congress, that's a co-equal branch of government. We don't know who the hell you are, Witkoff. We know you're in love with Vladimir Putin, and you framed a note where Vladimir Putin talked to you about 3x5 in reference to taking over Donbass and portions of Ukraine. We know you're a weirdo Putin sycophant, and you have a very shady background in your real estate dealings. Why the hell are you out there continuing to negotiate on behalf of, who the hell are you, Witkoff, for real? Here, play this clip of what Congresswoman Dean says. Let's play it.
I want you to tell us what happened in today's Iran conference call with Rubio and Witkoff.
This is an important day. And strangely, as we're taking in these Supreme Court decisions and the rant and raving of the president, we had a conference call. It was not a classified call with Secretary Rubio and Mr. Witkoff. And it was bipartisan, members of Congress, House members, Republicans, Democrats. Mr. Rubio gave a very brief opening, just talking about the shots back and forth over the course of the last 4 days, then sent it open to questions. We didn't learn much of anything. I have to be very, very honest with you. And it was all based on talking about the MOU, the 14-point MOU. I did ask a set of questions to the secretary and to Mr. Witkoff, which really piqued his ire. He cut my mic off and said that he called my question smart-assed and stupid, cut my mic off and said, there's your answer. I was simply asking tough questions about who wrote the MOU. Why does it sound so in favor of Iran? And from literally paragraph 1, we're already out of sync with what was to happen. I also mentioned the fact, and I think we should never forget, that in this reckless, unconstitutional war, which is what I said to the gentleman on the call, 13 service members have died. We must never forget that. Hundreds have been wounded and thousands of civilians killed throughout the region. But he called me smart-assed, stupid. I think this diplomat or would-be diplomat's been hanging around the president too much.
Wow. Did anyone object to the Secretary of State speaking to you in that manner at all?
On a chain for members, my colleagues were outraged, said it's unacceptable, disrespectful. Madeleine was simply asking tough questions. I added to the question, just to be completely transparent, and I think it's a fair question. I asked Mr. Witkoff, I said, in your work, how much of your work in the region is for the United States of America and resolving these issues, and how much of your time is being spent on your own ventures? That, I think, really ticked them off, and that's when I got cut off.
Again, it ticks him off because he knows it's legitimate. It ticks him off because he knows he's mixing business with diplomacy. It ticks him off because he knows in a world that made sense, his ass would be thrown in prison.
We should have a serious conversation. If there was a real brief, what would be discussed? What would be discussed is we're learning, and again, you're not hearing this in many other places, that the retaliatory strikes by Iran on the American military bases after the U.S. hit Sirak and Keshem were very serious strikes on Bahrain, the Fifth Fleet, as well as in Kuwait and an American Air Force base there. As a source very close to MB Ghalibaf explains, Iran has destroyed all the new military infrastructure of the United States in 8 locations, including the Ali Al-Sam Air Base in Kuwait and the Salman Air Base in Bahrain during the attacks that took place in response to the U.S. striking Keshem and Sirak. So that should be included in the briefings, right? But the Trump regime is covering that up.
We lost the war. It's over. It's done. In fact, I don't even like it when people say, why is this deal so pro-Iran? Well, the MOU, if it was actually implemented as written, which it's not, but because we lost. Like, that's why. Because we lost. That's why you basically had to theoretically give in to a bunch of their demands, because we're holding a big, fat, juicy L right now. But as they, agree to that on the one hand, on the other hand, they're just using this as a trick to go back to war. So they're not actually going to abide by the terms. And that's why I say there's irreconcilable differences, because we're never going to be okay with them actually charging people to use the Strait of Hormuz, even though we should be. Even though we should hold that big, fat, juicy L. That's it. It's over. It's a new era. American power was shown to be a paper tiger, right? We lost the war. And everybody needs to acknowledge that instead of pretending like there's some way with this one weird trick we can win it. No, we can't.
What should also be included in the briefing is, again, who drafted the MOU, but the Trump regime doesn't want to talk about that document because the Trump regime just is doing what they can do to manipulate the markets. And if you want to hear the perspective of what Rubio and Netanyahu are talking about and why Rubio entered into the Lebanon MOU, the Lebanon MOU framework was intended to go after Iran, basically, and to remove Iran from the deconfliction cell that J.D. Vance agreed that Iran could have in the Iran MOU and the subsequent technical talks that took place in Bergenstock in Switzerland during that Lake Lausanne summit 2 weeks ago or so. And so Rubio and Netanyahu working to undermine the J.D. Vance MOU. And from Israel's perspective, they are ready to invade. They're going to go and invade Iran and bring Trump into this in a few months, maybe earlier. But it's a foregone conclusion that the war starts right when the midterms are over. I mean, that's how it's being talked about. That should be news to the American people, and that's the type of stuff that we should hear because this is causing massive devastation here in the United States. So let me show you. This is the former Israel consul in Los Angeles on I-24 News, and here's what he has to say about what's going down. Here, play this clip.
So what we'll see is negotiations and more negotiations till November, and then, everything will be opened again because the midterm would pass and Trump would be a bit more free to do what he wants. Clearly, one last point is that the Iranians lost their hold on Lebanon because the MOU between Iran and the United States created a very strong linkage between the negotiations in Iran and Lebanon. What the peace deal or the agreement between Lebanon and Israel actually completely changed this picture and put the Iranians again outside the picture in Lebanon. I think this is a great accomplishment, and the Iranians would want to bring back Lebanon to the table.
I don't think you can explain Trump telling the Israelis that without acknowledging that Trump is blackmailed. I don't think there's any other way to justify or rationalize Trump saying to them, look, after the elections, I'll have more flexibility. So after the elections, we can go back to the all-out hot war. The only way you can explain that is obviously Trump himself also being a massive warmonger, but him being blackmailed, where, Netanyahu has told him, listen, it's not it. We're not done here. We're going to still try to make Iran a failed state. We're going to still try to do a deeper war. We're going to drop more bombs. We're going to maybe do a ground invasion. We're going to try to take Karg Island. Like, there's no other way to explain this degree, this level of irrational behavior from Trump. Absolutely shooting himself in the dick repeatedly, unless Netanyahu sits him down and goes, you want the Katie Johnson tape to come out? Because we got that. Guess you better go restart that war again. And Trump goes, I'll have more flexibility after November. I swear. I promise. We just don't want to get blown out. Like that's how I look at this. So phenomenal coverage here from Midas Touch, man. It's just so crazy. It's just so crazy witnessing this, living through this. I remember living through the Iraq War and being like, how the fuck are we so stupid? How are we wasting so much money? How are we killing so many innocent civilians there? How are so many of our soldiers dying? All for fucking nothing. All for a lie. All for some bullshit. And now we're doing the same shit again. It's happening again. Except this time, Iran is a much more powerful country than Iraq was. And they control the Strait of Hormuz, which means they have veto power over the global economy. And so the shit is about to hit the fan in a way that I really don't think people have wrapped their minds around yet.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
It's always been the case that if you let Republicans run wild, unchecked, make their own decisions, run the country, control every branch of government, they will implode. They will self-destruct. It's a virtual guarantee. And I say that because their own ideology, as they tell us, is like apocalyptically bad. Like all they want to do is super serve the Epstein class, give billionaires more tax cuts, give an endless amount of money to the military-industrial complex, raise your taxes if you're a working person, cut your health care. It is just a litany of every horrible thing you can imagine with no reprieve whatsoever. Okay, so I say all of that to show you this. This is kind of incredible here, but a Midas Touch reporter, Pablo Reports, he's out there at the Capitol, and he talks to this guy, Troy Nehls, I believe his name is. He's a MAGA congressperson. Now, this guy is most known for when the debate was happening over the Epstein files. This guy went out on a limb as one of the politicians to say, I'm not in favor of releasing the Epstein files because Donald Trump is not in favor of releasing the Epstein files, and it's all a big nothing burger. There's nothing to see here, and so we're not going to feed into the hysteria and the nonsense. So he went out on a limb and said that, and then literally like within the next week, Trump flipped and was like, let's release the Epstein files. I'll sign the legislation. And so then this idiot was out there looking like the dumbest motherfucker on the planet, destroyed his entire credibility to protect Epstein pedophiles and protect Trump. And then Trump was forced through political pressure to flip and support some transparency, or the legislation that was trying to do transparency. They're still hiding a lot of them, but Trump had to at least pretend like he cared about Epstein transparency. That's who this guy is. That's how shameless he is. That's how pathetic he is. He volunteered to be I'll be the pro-Epstein guy. That's who he is, okay? So he goes out there and he's asked about affordability. And to say that he shits the bed is the understatement of the century. This is an answer that's like it's like worse than any politician in human history. Most politicians know you gotta fake it. Most politicians know you gotta bullshit. He's so bad at this job, he just like has verbal diarrhea and reminds everybody how much of an out-of-touch elitist he is. Listen to this.
Congressman, real quick, how do House Republicans make the case that you're fighting for affordability when you go back to your districts?
Affordability? What are you talking about?
Affordability is the big...
I'm going to go there tomorrow. Over the 4th. I'm going to get me a couple big lobster tails. I'm going to get me some nice ribeyes. I'm going to sit in my backyard with my family, my neighbors. And we're going to be enjoying the 4th, celebrating 250 years, the birthday. We're going to be celebrating the greatest president in my lifetime, Donald J. Trump.
Hey, what do you think about affordability for the American people and how they're struggling? I'm going to get me some ribeyes. I'm going to get me some steak. I'm going to sit and I'm going to get me some lobster tails, and I'm going to celebrate Donald J. Trump. Oh, my word.
Maybe watch some fireworks. Won't be up here. It's going to be too hot, right? And I'm in bed at 11 o'clock. I heard the fireworks ain't going off till 11 o'clock Eastern on the 4th of July. I probably have to sleep through that one. But listen, everybody understands you're going to see a little increase in energy prices because of Iran. I mean, come on.
Everybody understands that. Everybody understands you can't afford your gas. Everybody understands you're breaking the fucking bank. You can't pay the bills. Everybody gets that.
People aren't stupid. You realize that when you have a
people aren't stupid. They know we got to bomb some little girls in Iran from time to time.
conflict Iran. But I think in the end, this short-term increase in some of the costs of energy, gasoline and stuff, is temporary. But President Trump has made it very clear to these companies, don't be gouging, no price gouging. I mean, energy, what? Oil was at $69 the other day, 72 today. I mean, the price has got to come down. Don't take advantage of the American people. To me, it's almost criminal.
You think 60% of Americans...
So we got to do that.
I love how these idiots, when these companies were actually price gouging, they all supported the companies price gouging the American people. Now, it's not price gouging, and it's simply a supply and demand thing. They just don't have any more oil coming in. There's no more gas. Like, we're getting to the bottom of the strategic reserves, and they're berating them like, well, stop price gouging. But they're not. This is all because of Trump and his illegal war and the Strait of Hormuz being shut. Oh, my days. He's so stupid. But wait for it. It gets worse.
And I think that the overall goal and objective is to make sure Iran never has a nuclear weapon. So I'm okay with the increase in fuel because you knew it was going to happen with oil and the Strait and everything. But it's a temporary issue.
You think the 60% of Americans who are living paycheck to paycheck can afford lobster tails and ribeyes and all of that?
Maybe not. Maybe the 60% of America don't work as hard as I do either. I mean, I don't.
Oh, somebody look it up. Put it in the comment section. How many days of the year do Congress people actually work? They get paid a 6-figure salary to show up for not even half the year, right? Not even half the year. They get the best healthcare coverage in the country. Like, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. Also, you get paid to what? Sell out the American people? You get paid to, like, snuggle up to billionaires and corporations and fillet them, and then they'll take care of you when you leave there? You say, oh, maybe I work harder. No, you definitely don't work harder than most Americans. Quite the opposite, son. Quite the opposite. You guys are a bunch of fucking losers up over there in Washington, D.C., super serving the Epstein class, screwing over regular people. This is how you react when asked about affordability? Yeah, maybe I just work harder. Oh, my God.
You think the 60% of Americans who are living paycheck to paycheck can afford lobster tails and ribeyes and all of that?
Maybe not. Maybe the 60% of America don't work as hard as I do either. I mean, I don't know.
Nah, son, you got to go. You got to go. Here's my question. Why would a guy like this even get involved in public service? Why would he run for office? Why does any Republican want to run for office? If your whole philosophy is the government sucks and can't fix anything, then why would you run to be in the government? It's like you're saying, I suck, I can't fix anything, so I'm good for that job. It's almost like they get into this business to do the self-dealing, to be corrupt, to get personally wealthy, okay? But now, not on top of that, he's rubbing salt in the wound, he's spitting into your eye, he's saying, well, maybe I just work harder. I don't know, man. Some of the hardest working fucking people I know work 2 or 3 jobs and can barely pay the motherfucking bills. They work way harder than you, who works for less than half the year, and the entire time you're working, it means what? You're funding the carpet bombing of little girl schools in Iran? You're giving more money to the Epstein class in the form of subsidies and tax cuts? You're literally kicking 18 million people off their Medicaid. That's what the Republicans did. Kicked 18 million people off Medicaid. Also, because of them, up to 742 hospitals are going to close because of the way that this asshole votes. And he has the nerve to say, I'm going to get some lobster tail. I'm going to get some ribeye. I'm going to sit back, have some wine with my neighbors and stuff like that. And, you know, maybe I'm in this position and you're not because you don't fucking work hard enough. How about that? This movement, man. This movement is so demonic. I'm telling you, though, they truly are high on their own supply. I really believe that. I really believe they have no idea what's coming. People are so sick of Republicans in this country. I'm not even sweating the polls that show like a contested Senate race where the Democrat is like 2 or 3 points down. I'm looking at that like that's a 5-point lead right now. Because like the way I know everybody's feeling what I'm feeling when I hear these Republicans run their fucking mouths. I know everybody's thinking, who the fuck are you? How the fuck do you get off saying this shit? This is what you're going to say? Oh, no. Oh, no. People need to make their presence known, man. They need to make their presence known because with guys like this in power, I mean, we're just asking for this country to become a bigger and bigger shithole. That's all this guy can do is make this country a bigger and bigger and shithole. As he lectures you, as he berates you for not working hard enough when you work 10 times as hard as he does and make half the fucking money.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, so we got to talk about this, man. This is so crazy and it's not getting nearly enough attention. But these bombs that Israel is dropping in southern Lebanon, still to this day, remember there's an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, that's supposed to make it so there is no bombing that happens in Lebanon, and Israel's supposed to get the fuck out of Lebanon. They're not doing that. In fact, they're escalating. And they're dropping these like mega bombs on Lebanon. And nobody cares. Nobody's talking about it. They're acting like it's not a thing. So look at this. Israel warns northern settlements of massive explosion in South Lebanon. Quote, will be felt by many, especially northwest Israel. May trigger earthquake alarms. They told people beforehand, we're going to drop a bomb that is so big and so powerful that the ground is going to shake and it may trigger earthquake alarms. That's what they're saying. Which, by the way, I don't know about you guys, I think this is kind of creepy to do shit like this, period. But especially to do it as like, we've had, 7 major earthquakes within the past week. There's like volcanic activity as well happening. Like, you would think things are very unsettled right now. Maybe don't drop mega bombs that almost register as nuclear fucking weapons. So look at this. Nuclear-like blast in southern Lebanon after the IDF strike on underground Hezbollah route. This is their cover story, right? Oh, it's to get the tunnels. Yeah, where have we heard this one before? The fucking tunnels. Hundreds of weapons and 4 launch shafts reportedly decimated, more than 200 meters long and 25 meters deep. A bomb that's 200 meters long and 25 meters deep. Do you have any idea how powerful that is? So look, we have a video here. Let's take a look. Jesus fucking Christ. Look at this. Look at this. Guys, that's a fucking town. That's a whole ass town. How many civilian buildings did they just vaporize immediately? These are the same people, remember, who used vacuum bombs, hyperbaric bombs or vacuum bombs. They literally vaporize people instantly. I don't know. Are they also using those? I mean, look at this. Look at this. Look at this video. Look at both these videos. This is insane. This is insane. Again, nobody's talking about it. Nobody cares, right? Well, here we go. We have France 24. These are the outlets I have to go to get like any talk about this at all. This was only like a fucking 2-minute segment on it. But listen to what they have to say.
This video, released by the Israeli Defense Forces, shows the moment of a blast followed by a thick cloud of smoke engulfing the area. They claim to have detonated a tunnel built by Iran-backed Hezbollah fighters in southern Lebanon, near the Israelis' self-proclaimed security zone, which stretches 10 kilometers into the country.
The tunnel, stretching more than 200 meters and reaching a depth of over 25 meters, contained hundreds of weapons as well as several launch shafts intended to target the state of Israel and its civilians.
Can anybody actually believe that in good faith? I find it hard to imagine that anybody believes that. We were told the same thing. When they were attacking hospitals in Gaza, there's Hamas tunnels underneath. That's what they would say. Never was any evidence of it. Nobody ever fucking followed up. They ended up attacking literally every single hospital in Gaza. 80 to 90% of Gaza is just flat out rubble right now. And so the entire time they were gaslighting us nonstop as they were committing an ethnic cleansing and a genocide and live streaming it in real motherfucking time. And the whole time, oh, the tunnels. Oh, it's Hamas. Oh, it's the tunnels. Now we get, oh, it's Hezbollah. Oh, it's the tunnels. What the fuck are you babbling about? You are leveling villages. You are leveling towns. You are stealing all of South Lebanon. You are telling people in South Lebanon to evacuate. Then you're bombing them on the evacuation route and bombing them when they get to the so-called safe zone that you designated as a so-called safe zone. It's the exact same playbook as Gaza over again. The people of Lebanon are experiencing now the same thing that the people of Gaza experienced, and the same thing that the people of the West Bank are beginning to experience as well with the fucking pogroms that happen there on a regular basis. It's all happening. It's all happening. And the fact that the world has largely moved on is completely and utterly unacceptable. We're having nuclear-like blasts, and CNN doesn't mention it, MSNBC doesn't mention it, or MS Now doesn't mention it, the nightly news doesn't mention it. Like the way that the Israelis just get a fucking pass. We're so used to their barbarism and savagery that they just largely get a pass. People go, oh yeah, the Israelis are being savages again. What are you going to do? But like, I don't know, man. We should probably talk about that and try to fucking stop it.
There's several launch shafts intended to target the state of Israel and its civilians.
The strike comes a day after one person was killed in another Israeli strike in the south, which Tel Aviv says was well within the rules of a new ceasefire agreement signed by Israel and Lebanon in Washington just days ago.
On Friday in Washington, D.C., Israel signed a framework agreement which reflects our desire for peace with Lebanon. Peace must be built on security. And security on our northern border can only be achieved by the disarmament of Hezbollah.
Again, this is the same shit we heard about Hamas. Oh, no, we can only achieve peace if Hamas disarms, as they literally were like shooting children in the face and starving an entire population and raping Palestinians in their concentration camps. Now they signed a mass death law to kill all these Palestinian hostages that they have. Many of them just like threw rocks, and they're going to kill them now. Right? Like, as they act in the most unhinged Nazi-like ways, they go, you got to disarm. Are you insane? Hezbollah disarming? Hezbollah is the only group that actually defends Lebanon. The Lebanese government is fucking hopeless, just totally owned by the Israelis. The Hezbollah is the only group that's actually fighting back to try to protect the territorial integrity of Lebanon and protect the civilians in Lebanon.
Under the agreement, Israeli troops are to withdraw from southern Lebanon, but only on the condition that Hezbollah fully disarms.
Again, that's made up. That's so made up. Iran did not agree to that. They agreed to you getting the fuck out of there, and that's the only thing that's going to stop hostilities and open up the Strait of Hormuz. So now, Trump is faced with, let the Israelis continue to rape and pillage and steal and, kill everybody in sight in Lebanon, or open the Strait of Hormuz. And our blackmailed pedophile president so far has agreed to just let Israel continue doing whatever they want in Lebanon and have the Strait of Hormuz shut.
The militant group opposed the talks with Israel from the start, with the head of the Hezbollah-allied Lebanese parliament, Nabih Berri, strongly rejecting the deal signed. Responding to the attacks, the group released a statement accusing Israel of violating the ceasefire, adding that it reserves the right to defend its homeland and its people. Hezbollah has repeatedly pushed Lebanese authorities to link their diplomatic strategy to Iran's own negotiations with the US to end the war, a stance backed by Tehran, which insists that any regional ceasefire includes Lebanon.
Everything is so fucking fucked. It's just, I don't even know what to say about this anymore, man. Like, the shit that they get away with is just out of this world. In any sane world where international law mattered, where humanity mattered, the entire Israeli government would be in handcuffs and behind bars forever. It's not even a close call. The trial would take 7 minutes. I mean, the evidence is overwhelming. It's astonishing. But they're so used to just getting away with it. We provide them diplomatic cover and protection. They get away with it. We threaten the ICC and the ICJ and the UN, right? We lecture them. We do whatever the fuck we want. It is disturbing. And this is why the downfall of the American empire is happening right now, and it's inevitable. It's inevitable because we have zero moral authority and legitimacy anymore. We blew it all. We blew it all with the Iraq War. We blew it all supporting the genocide in Gaza. We're blowing it all with Iran. We're blowing it with our drone war. We're blowing it with our destruction of our Constitution and civil liberties. It's all came apart. But yeah, definitely not dystopian at all that Israel is using nuclear-like weapons, and this is probably the first and last time you'll hear about it, is me talking about it on this YouTube show.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, guys. So there's this Republican congressman from New Jersey by the name of Tom Keene. And this dude just absolutely disappeared one day. Just gonzo. Just left. Nobody knew where he was. Nobody knew where he was. He was just gone. He just started missing votes. Didn't say anything. Nobody could find him. And I believe he was missing for like 4 months. For 4 months. And so he just reappeared. And his explanation is kind of shocking everybody here. So he goes on the floor of the House and he says the following.
I rise today with deep gratitude for the patience, the kindness, the prayers, and the concern that have been shown to me and my family over the course of the last several months. This is not an easy speech for me to give. I am a private person by nature, and I spent most of my life talking about the people that I represent, the issues facing our communities, and the work that continues to be done. Talking about myself has never come naturally. But I believe that I owe an explanation to the people of New Jersey's 7th District, to my colleagues in this chamber, and to the American people for my absence. Several months ago, due to health concerns, I entered the hospital for some testing. I did not believe that this would result in a long-term stay. I was given the diagnosis of depression. Now, when people hear the word depression, many people it means feeling sad. But depression is so much more than that. It is physical. It is emotional. And until you experience it yourself, it is difficult to fully understand how powerful this illness can be. The doctors recommended that I remain in the hospital to address my illness. They explained to me that this would be the fastest way to recovery. And to be honest, I was hesitant. I didn't think that I had time for it. I had responsibilities to my family. I had responsibilities to my constituents. I had responsibilities to this institution. And like many people, I believed that I could simply push through. But I agreed to follow my doctor's recommendations. Again, not believing that it would result in a long-term stay.
Yeah, here's my take. He's lying. He's not telling the truth. There's millions and millions of people with depression who get diagnosed, who go to therapy, who are given Lexapro or some other antidepressant or some other cocktail of drugs, of medicine, and then they go about their lives and they have to, go to work. There's no other profession in the world where you could just miss 4 months. Just be like, oh yeah, I just missed for 4 months. Like, no, your ass would be fucking fired. So I think he's lying. I think there's something he's not telling us. I think he either tried to commit suicide, maybe, or because that's the only way they do like an involuntary hold where like you're locked up for an extended period of time and you like can't go to work for an extended period of time. It's either that or he was maybe schizophrenic or something where, delusional, seeing things that aren't there, lost touch with reality, or maybe he was a threat not only to himself, but maybe to others as well. That's the only thing I can think of. The idea that it's just depression, even severe depression, this is not how depression would be handled. It's just not how it would be handled. Now, by the way, assuming that let's just take him at his word here for a second and assuming it's true. You got to resign. I'm sorry, you got to resign. If you, look, I feel bad for you. I'm sympathetic. Like, if what you're describing is exactly what happened, as you say, then you should get treatment, you should get therapy, you should get the care you need, but clearly you're in no position to represent all the people you're supposed to represent in Congress. And that's not a knock on you. That's just a practical reality of the world that we live in. Like I said, there's no other job. You could just miss 4 months, and it's like, oh yeah, you just missed 4 months. That's cool. Like, no, your ass would be fired immediately. And, you could just get into a different field. You could go do something else. You can not have one of the most important and most responsible jobs in the world where you have to look after the will of your constituents, which is a decent number of people because he's in New Jersey. Like, I'm sorry, man. Move the fuck on. Go somewhere else. Do something else. I'm not having it. And I don't want to hear, I don't want to hear any sort of defense of him in any way, shape, or form. I'm sorry. Unacceptable. Because like I said, this won't fly in any other profession. And there's a reason why it wouldn't fly in any other profession. And also, I'm granting him, taking him at his word for this hypothetical part of the conversation, but I don't buy it. I think there's something he's not telling us, and I think he's probably unfit to be in this position anyway. So, by the way, in a world that made sense, every Republican politician would be depressed, and they should be depressed because they're making decisions that are shutting 742 hospitals, okay? They're making decisions that kick 18 million people off their Medicaid. They're making decisions that lead to endless war in the Middle East and backing a pedophile, rapist, con man, terrorist president. So in a world that had justice, every Republican congressperson would be depressed and none of them would show up to work and Democrats would be able to fucking pass legislation. How about that? How about that? Jesus Christ. But tell me what you guys think of this because, I don't know. It's a weird one, but I'm convinced that he's not telling the truth. I'm convinced that there's some part of this that he's hiding. And even just that lack of transparency alone is another reason why he should be nowhere near power.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, y'all. So we've been seeing, honestly, win after win after win in the Democratic primaries where DSA candidates and left-wing insurgents are taking down establishment Democrats. And that's lovely to see. But what we're also seeing is when it comes to the midterms, Republicans should be shaking in their boots and shitting their pants. And they should be doing that because, left-wing candidates, Democratic candidates are either leading or, within striking distance, okay? And even doing that in places where you wouldn't expect. So take a look at this. New New York Times poll here. It looks like James Talarico is officially tied with Ken Paxton. James Talarico is now officially tied with Ken Paxton. This is among likely voters in Texas. That's a big deal. Now, look, the thing that everybody's going to say is, okay, well, we've been down this road before. Look at Beto O'Rourke, for example, and Beto O'Rourke ended up losing. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Let's relax a little bit. If he's tied, that actually means Paxton is up. That actually means there's like a sleeper 4 or 5% bump for Paxton that we're not factoring in. And I say, look, okay, fair enough. However, you do have to take into account the national environment right now. The national environment is, shit, there was a poll that was like Democrat plus 15 on the generic ballot for the midterms. So like the national mood also has to matter. It also has to be considered when having these conversations. But there's another poll. Look at this, an Insights poll. In this one, Talarico, 48.4% to Ken Paxton, 46.1%. In this poll, we have a 2-point lead for Talarico. Not only that, when you look at net favorables, Talarico is underwater 5 points, but Ken Paxton is underwater 23 points. Not only that, in the state of Texas now, known as a very, very conservative state, Donald Trump is now underwater. Trump only has a 41% approval rating in the state of Texas. That is very, very low for a Republican president in the state of Texas. That's wild, bro. So, look, man, this is a real race, bro. This is a real race, and Talarico has a real chance. And it is interesting to see. Also, the Republicans truly did shoot themselves in the dick. Trump really did hurt the Republicans' chances by, backing Paxton instead of Cornyn, because Cornyn, he's a MAGA hack as well, but he is less insane and has way fewer scandals, and that matters. That matters because all these independents who the vote is going to rely on, the election is going to rely on, they are much more likely to break Talarico. In fact, we covered a poll on this the other day that independents were breaking overwhelmingly for Talarico. And Paxton he's just too fucking severe. He's too extreme. So let me show you this. We have a Ken Paxton ad going after Talarico. Here we go.
James Talarico is a hypocrite when it comes to fighting for families. Talarico wants to teach trans ideology in schools and
James Talarico is a hypocrite when it comes to fighting for families. And to prove that, here's something that has nothing to do with families. Come on, man. This is all they have. Oh, yeah? You're woke. Oh, yeah? What about trans stuff, bro? Did I mention trans stuff, bro? Like, they're literally just trying to scare toothless Texas rednecks into saying, he thinks men can be women and women can be men, man. I gotta vote against him, man. It's like, okay, but those people also can't afford gas anymore. Those people are, paying double the amount for their groceries as they were 5 fucking years ago. So, I don't know. Perhaps those economic concerns will override this, culture war slop that you're trying to force feed the people of Texas. Jesus Christ.
Talarico wants to teach trans ideology in schools and let boys compete in girls' sports.
Republican, make a serious argument challenge impossible. They can't say anything about the minimum wage. They can't say anything about inflation. They can't say anything about unemployment. They can't say anything about health care, because on every front, they make everything worse.
Talarico says it's immoral to use the oil and gas that employs millions of Texans.
This is so dishonest. It's so dishonest to act like he would ban oil and gas use.
Talarico wants higher taxes and policies
on billionaires, not on fucking working people, you dipshit.
That'll raise prices on families. Hypocrite James Talarico will do anything to push his radical agenda, even if it leaves families broke and jobless.
Okay, I love this. So, this is on the Ken Paxton for Senate YouTube channel. It has 710 views in one day. Way to go there, Kenny. Very impressive. All right, now let me show you a Talarico ad. Oh, by the way, Ken Paxton's YouTube channel, 1.26 thousand subscribers. By the way, I'm sure most of them are bots. They're bought and paid for. James Talarico, 263,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel. Okay, and the views on this one, 62,000 views in 2 weeks. Gee, I wonder who's got the motion behind him. It's a tough one to figure out here. All right, so here's an ad from Talarico going against Paxton. Here we go.
There is something happening in the great state of Texas. There is something in the air. We are uniting Texans onto one team to take on this broken, corrupt political system. We're going to do something extraordinary. We are going to end 30 years of one-party rule in this state and elect a senator who's going to serve us. In the Gospel of Matthew, when Jesus' disciples are all jockeying for position, Jesus tells them, the rulers of this world lord their power over the people, but among you it will be different. The greatest among you will be a servant. This is not just a political battle. This is a spiritual battle.
I gotta say, man, I sort of love how he uses his Christianity to rub it in the face of the right, that like, I'm the real Christian, bitch. I actually want to help the poor. I actually want to treat the sick. I actually want to feed the hungry. I want to put a roof over the head of the homeless. Because he's like, hey, this is the actual message of Christianity and Jesus Christ. Meanwhile, all you Christians are Bible thumpers like crazy, but you celebrate bombing little girls in Iran. You celebrate taking healthcare away from 18 million people. You celebrate shutting 742 hospitals like Trump's big bullshit bill did. You can't say that you're a Christian and you love Jesus, but fundamentally your ideology is the polar opposite, because all you want to do is super serve the Epstein class billionaires. That's the opposite of Jesus. Jesus was anti-rich. So I love how he outflanks them on their religion. And you just feel like that has to strike a chord in Texas.
Between selfishness and service, between greed and greatness, after decades of this corruption, we are on the cusp of returning to those old-fashioned values. Service, taking responsibility, and doing what's right even when no one is watching. If we, the people, can come together to defeat the most corrupt politician in America, we can come together to defeat this entire corrupt system. They're going to call this movement that we're building un-Texan, un-American. They'll call us a threat. The only truth out of all of those lies is that we are a threat. And on November 3rd, the greatest among us will be the servants. Let's go win this thing. Thank you.
Bro, amazing. That was an amazing ad. Guys, the only thing that really worries me, if I'm being honest, is what the Republicans will fucking do, man. Is like these people, they're liars. They're cheaters. They steal. Like that's what they do. In fact, I know I've showed you this a million times, but here's a Steve Bannon interview that Ken Paxton did. Now, at the time, he was Texas Attorney General. And in this interview, he admits that if he didn't stop the counting of 2.5 million mail-in ballots, Joe Biden would have won the state of Texas. He's bragging about this openly, that he stole the state of Texas for Donald Trump. Look at this.
It's certainly critical to my state, and that's why we fought off these 12 lawsuits. We had them in Houston, we had them in San Antonio, we had them in Austin, we had them in the counties where you'd have the most liberal judges. And it was a concerted effort nationally with lots of money going into it. And just knowing that we had 12 losses that we had to win. And if we lost one of them, like we lost Harris County, Trump won by 620,000 votes in Texas. Harris County mail-in ballots that they wanted to send out were 2.5 million. Those were all illegal, and we were able to stop every one of them. Had we not done that, we would have been in the very same situation. We would have been on election night. I was watching election night, and I knew when I saw what was happening in these other states that would have been Texas. We would have been in the same boat. We would have been one of those battleground states that they were counting votes in Harris County for 3 days, and Donald Trump would have lost the election.
I don't even need to read into that. There's no need to even read between the lines and say, oh, what he means is. No, he just said what he meant. He just said what he meant. What he meant was Biden won the state. But because I got 2.5 million legitimate ballots thrown out and acted like they were illegal when they weren't, I illegally stole the election in Texas for Trump over Biden. That's what he's saying. And so one of the most corrupt parties in the country, not just the Republican Party, the Texas Republican Party, I fear what they're going to do. I fear what they're going to do. By the way, while we're on this topic, this was floating around social media the other day. Hey, Ken Paxton, that's not your wife. Here he is. Another affair, Ken? Another affair? Look at this. Oh, that's when he realized he fucked up. That's when he realized he fucked up. Did you see? He went to go put his hand on her shoulder. Then he realized he was being recorded. Watch this. Watch this. Again, here we go. Ready? Hand on the shoulder. Oh, he realizes he fucked up. He looks back. He looks back. He realizes he fucked up. Look at this. See, look, making a face. Caught again. Caught again. This man is so corrupt. Other Texas Republicans were like, we got to impeach him. He's too corrupt. We just caught him red-handed committing bribery. Trump had to come in to personally save him in Texas. He's the second most corrupt politician in America, only behind Donald J. Trump. That's who Ken Paxton is. He stole the election for Trump when he was Attorney General. And the guy cannot keep his motherfucking dick in his pants. Okay? Can't keep his dick in his pants. And all he talks about, trans. Woke. Can't say shit because he wants higher wages for you. He wants higher taxes for you. He wants to cut taxes for the billionaires. He wants to take your health care. These people are fucking demonic, bro. They are fucking demonic. And Talarico, in this moment, is tied. Something special can happen. Something special can happen. We just got to keep these fucking cheaters in check.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So the Trump regime is just simply packed full of the most morally decrepit and rotten scumbags and cretins in the world. As I always tell you, they're a death cult. They actively, their plan is to make everything worse. They actually want to make everything worse. They want to speed up climate change. They want to, destroy our healthcare system. They want to make sure everybody can't get healthcare. They're all against universal healthcare, Medicare for all. Like I said, 742 hospitals are shutting because of their big bullshit bill that they passed. The head of Health and Human Services, RFK, is the most unqualified person for this job in U.S. history, probably. I mean, here's a guy who's an anti-vaxxer. Here's a guy who bathes in sewage. Here's a guy who was chopping off raccoon dicks. Lord only knows what he was doing with those dicks, right? But totally unfit for his position. Well, he went on Fox News to talk about the communist revolution in the Democratic Party. Now, what he means by that is we now have Democrats that are winning primaries who want universal health care and free college and a living wage and ending the wars and a Green New Deal and taxing the rich and universal child care. So now we finally have Democrats that are representing not just the will of Democratic voters, but the will of the country. And so to Fox News, the communist revolution has taken over. And one of the big issues, of course, that these people are running on is let's stop arming and funding Israel, the country that's brazenly doing a genocide right in front of our eyes, doing multiple genocides, in fact. Well, RFK did not take kindly to this. For those of you who don't know, RFK is a total fucking Israel simp cuck. He goes on such a disgusting rant here. He's effectively saying Gaza's fine. Gaza's fine. And he does genocide denial in a frothing rage on live TV. Watch this.
If you look at the Mideast, there is an ongoing genocide against Jews and Christians in all the nations in the Mideast.
So the genocide is not against Palestinians in Gaza. It's not the pogroms against Palestinians in the West Bank. It's not all of South Lebanon being stolen by Israel right now, where they're using, we just covered the story, they're using nuclear-like weapons in the middle of villages in South Lebanon that are registering on the fucking Richter scale. That's not the genocide. The genocide is against Jews and Christians in the Middle East.
In 1948, there was 1 million Jews in the Mideast, in the Arab countries. Today, there's about 15,000 left. 20% of the population was Christian. Now it's 5%.
By the way, did RFK say anything when Israel started bombing old Christian churches in Gaza, started bombing Christian communities in Gaza. Did he say anything about that? Did he say anything about when South Lebanon was being stolen right in front of everybody's face? And Israel went to the Christians and said, if I find you hiding Shia Muslims in your attic, we're going to kill you too. Did he say anything against that? Christians being threatened for protecting Shia Muslims, simply for being Shia Muslims. The new Anne Frank is a Shia Muslim hiding in the attic of a Christian in Lebanon, and he's got nothing to say except, oh, the Muslims are attacking the Christians. Really? I just gave you an example of the opposite. Muslims protecting Christians. Almost like you're completely and utterly full of shit and you're a lying scumbag and a con artist. And you're bending over backwards to defend your precious Israel. I wonder what they have on you. This is one of those guys who's like randomly, weirdly close with Rabbi Shmuley, like Cory Booker. And you look and you wonder, what do they have on you, RFK? You yourself said, I'm not a Boy Scout. When I was younger, I engaged in some fucked up stuff. He was a heroin addict. He was a sex addict. What do they fucking have on you? What video do they have? Just like they have the Katie Johnson video of Donald Trump, and Lord knows what other pictures and videos of Trump with underage girls. What do they have on you, RFK, for you to make dumbass arguments like this on TV?
Was Christian, now it's 5%. In Israel, in contrast, there were 150,000 Palestinians in 1948. Today, there's almost 2 million. They're 20% of the population. If Israel wanted to commit a genocide against Palestinians, it could do it in a minute. It's doing the opposite.
Israel's doing the opposite of a genocide to Palestinians. So you just hallucinated that they reduced 80 to 90% of Gaza to rubble. You hallucinated that. You hallucinated them bombing all those hospitals, all those schools. You hallucinated them shutting off the food, the medicine, the water. You hallucinated them shooting people, waving white flags. You hallucinated them bombing World Central Kitchen workers and UN buildings. You hallucinated all of that. None of that is real. The genocide that was live streamed that we all saw with our own two eyes, the ruins of kids, arms and legs of kids laying underneath rubble that we saw, you hallucinated all of that. That's not genocide, according to RFK. That's the opposite of genocide. That's what they're showing love to the Palestinians. They're helping to grow the Palestinian community. That's what they're doing. Do you believe that he's saying this shit in fucking 2026? Even fucking Jesse Waters, the guy who looks like the quintessential rapist frat boy, even he seems uncomfortable with this.
It could do it in a minute. It's doing the opposite.
Oh.
The Palestinian population is growing enormously around Israel.
The Palestinian population is growing enormously, he says, when it's a bare minimum of 60 to 70,000 Palestinians have died, over 90% of which are innocent civilians. That's an undercount, by the way. The actual number is over 100,000 for sure. I've seen numbers as high as like 300 or 600,000. The population is growing tremendously, and if they would just bathe in sewage like me and suck raccoon dicks, then they would be growing even more.
There are no Jews in Jordan. There are no Jews in Gaza. The number of Christians in Gaza has dropped by about 80% over the past 10 years. If you want to see where a real genocide is happening, it's not in Israel. It's happening in all the nations around it.
It's incredible that he's actually saying these things with a straight face in 2026. Completely and utterly ignoring Israel brags about trying to create a greater Israel project. They just bragged about doing a death penalty law, a mass execution law for all of the hostages, the Palestinian hostages they have, thousands of them. Even committed of low level, that you threw a rock, now we're going to put you to death. They brag about this shit. They brag about stealing South Lebanon. They brag about stealing parts of Syria. They brag about the Greater Israel Project. They brag about the pogroms in the West Bank. They say the most openly genocidal shit you've ever heard, and RFK's out there, actually, they're the victims. They're the real victims. They're the ones who are being genocided. They're not the ones who are doing the genocide. It's really unfortunate and crazy. By the way, you know who this guy is? Remember this? Remember when he went on Breaking Points? And he gave us the talking point of all talking points here when talking about Palestinians. Ready? Here we go.
What I'm saying is the Hamas is a criminal enterprise.
Sure.
Yes. The Palestinian, and you talk about solutions for the Palestinian people. The Palestinian people are arguably the most pampered people by international aid organizations in the history of the world.
Are you kidding me?
No,
Even before this war, 78% of people in Gaza said they had, not enough food to eat.
Shout out Crystal there. Great job. The Palestinian people are the most pampered people in the world by aid organizations. As if they're just lazy. They're just lazy. They're just want to be served by everybody around them. Or Israel keeps bombing them, murdering them, stealing their land, reducing their buildings to rubble, taking away any and all opportunity in Gaza to even survive. And then out of necessity, you had international aid organizations go in there and give them like bare minimum amount of food. This man is a disgrace. This man is a disgrace. This man is, like I said, the dirt they probably have on him would make you vomit. The dirt they probably have on this man would make you vomit. Because we've seen how weird he is in real life. We've seen the dumb policies with HHS. We remember the fucking affair he was having with what's-her-face, Olivia Nuzzi, where they were talking about motherfucking felching. He was like, I want to nut in your ass and then eat my own semen out of your anus. Let me do that. Let me try that. So if that's what came out that we know right now, and he said, I was no church boy. I was, if I had he said something that was like, if I had $1 for every accusation made against me, I'd be like a millionaire. I'm paraphrasing, something to that effect, where he was basically like, yeah, man, there's a lot of shit out there on me. And what a surprise. He ends up being one of the biggest Israel dick suckers on the planet, to the point where he's still even denying he's denying the world's most live-streamed genocide. There's the most evidence of any genocide ever, is this genocide in Gaza. Because we have HD fucking video, and he's denying it. The stuff they have on him is probably just out of this world. It would probably put him in fucking prison 78 times over, and that's almost certainly why he's saying this. All right, y'all. That's the show, man. You guys know the drill. Everybody do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, click that bell icon, support the show on Patreon, support Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. That link is below. And go sub to Corin's World. Come hang out with us on Monday nights. But I love you all, and I'll see you back here tomorrow, same time, same place. Peace out.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.